I actually think that what's going on is unconstitutional, but unfortunately, the judges don't enforce the laws that exist. And, in your promo, you posed the question, where did all this money come from? Well, it came from thin air. The Federal Reserve just creates it and bails out banks. This should not be done. I mean, if banks are insolvent because they've made bad loans, they should be allowed to fail. Creditors of those banks should lose their money. They made the mistake of loaning money to banks that were doing reckless things with those loans. We have to have market forces disciplining the credit markets. We can't have the Fed coming to the rescue with a printing press every time somebody gets in trouble. This credit didn't save the economy. It saved Wall Street bankers. It saved their bonuses. But the economy is still drowning now in more debt than it was before. And we're going to have a much bigger economic crisis in the United States sometime in the next several years than the one that the Fed believes they averted, because the next financial crisis is going to be a sovereign debt crisis, much like people are facing now in countries like Greece or Ireland. And we're also going to have a currency crisis, a dollar crisis. And so ultimately, the American economy, American people are going to suffer much more because of these bailouts than what would have happened if there were no bailouts. Now, the reason it hasn't collapsed is because it's still on life support. It's still being propped up by foreign central banks all around the world. If the dollar was still strong, it wouldn't need those supports. It could stand on its own legs, but it can't. Just recently, if you're talking about Russia and China came to a trade agreement in which both nations decided that going forward, they will no longer invoice each other for their respective goods in US dollars, that payments will flow between the two nations in rubles and RMB. And that's just another step away from the US dollar. Well, it doesn't send a good message, which is why we shouldn't have bailed out Wall Street. We should have let banks fail. We should have let investment bankers and traders join the ranks of the unemployed instead of propping them up with big bonuses. But two wrongs don't make a right. Just because we bailed out Wall Street doesn't mean we keep extending unemployment benefits in perpetuity, because these unemployment benefits act as a barrier to jobs. Because when you make it very lucrative for people not to work, they prefer unemployment to work. And unfortunately, the jobs that are available right now in our economy are very low paying right now. And most people would rather get an unemployment check than work hard for low wages. And we have to stop that. Unfortunately, people need to return to work, even if it's not a very good job at the moment, because we need that productivity. And maybe if they take a low paying job now, 6 months from now, a year or two, they'll be able to get a higher paying job. But if we keep subsidizing people to stay on unemployment, those higher paying jobs are never going to come back, because we're going to destroy our economy before it happens.